For today's presentation, I picked a verse from the 15th chapter. The 15th chapter is called Purushottama Yogam in the Gita. It's one of the smallest chapters in the Gita. It's a very enigmatic chapter, very sacred, and usually recited before eating. It is similar in some ways to the 10th chapter, which is called Vibhuti Yogam, talking about the divine glories, divine manifestations. And this chapter also reminds us about the divine manifestations, how divinity, this consciousness, is revealed in various ways. It is revealed through the sunlight, which illuminates the whole world, and like in the brilliance of the fire, for example. It is that energy that enters, that fertilizes the whole earth and nourishes all human beings, all creatures. It's the moon that also nourishes all the plant kingdom to make food. And it is the food, and the food, when it is taken, it's the divine consciousness that gives us the heat in the stomach, the fire in the stomach that digests the food. So it's everything, in everything and everywhere in the universe. And finally, Krishna reminds us that I am in your hearts. If you open up your hearts, you find me there. And to illustrate that point, I picked the 15th verse of the 15th chapter. It's a very interesting fact that this is the last of what are known as Trishtubs. All the shlokas in the Gita typically have 8 syllables in each line. Some of them, especially in the 11th chapter, have 11 syllables in each line. It's a very melodious type of writing. And this is the last of the Trishtubs, the 11 syllable lines in the Gita. So the verse says, Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannivishto mattaha smrutir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krut veda videva chaham. He says, I dwell in the hearts of all beings. I am situated in all the hearts of all beings. From me come memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness. I am the one to be known in all the Vedas. I am the author of the Vedas, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So when he says, I dwell in everybody's heart, he's not talking about the anatomical organ we have. It's a spiritual entity, a metaphysical entity. It's not in the physical body space, it's not in the mental space, but it is through the mental space we reach this spiritual entity. And this point is mentioned several times in the Gita. In the 7th verse of this same chapter, he says, Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhutaha sanatanaha. A fragment of myself, immortal in nature, is the embodied spirit. That which you call soul is nothing but a fragment of me, immortal. the 10th chapter, which I said earlier about Vibhuti Yogam, also he mentions this point. Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarva Bhuta Ashaya Stitaha. I am the self, Arjuna, he says, residing in the hearts of all beings. Okay. And finally, he mentions this again in the 18th chapter, the last chapter in the Gita, says, Ishvaraha sarva bhutanam hruddeshirjuna tishtati. The Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings, he says. So he repeats this point throughout the Gita many times, because this knowledge is very important. If we are aware that we have divinity within ourselves, we are spiritual beings with a body, with a mind, to have this human experience, our life's experiences would be elevated. And so we can make conscious choices with awareness instead of, automatically living a life. And this happens, he says, in the 15th chapter also, Yatanto yoginas chainam pasyantyatmanyavastitum. He says, when one strives, one practices, one tries and has effort again and again and again, he can find this truth within himself. So he mentions this several times, that we have divinity within ourselves, which is the force, the energy that keeps this whole universe together. In the 7th chapter, 7th verse, he says, Mai sarvam idam protam sutremani ganaiva. When you look at a pearl strand, you see how there is thread inside where all these pearls are strung. Similarly, he says, I am the inside force that's holding this whole universe together. Like when you look at a garland, you see the flowers outside, but there is a thread holding all the flowers together. So he says, there is no place without me. I am everywhere. And everything comes out of me. And he mentions a few things in this verse, which are memory, knowledge, forgetfulness. He says all of these also come from me. When we think about memory, memory is so important. Starting from our childhood, we learn so many things. And because of memory, we are able to retain them. We start learning about ourselves, our parents, our society, our culture, our education, job, skills. There is no end to learning. We go through various stages in life, and this learning keeps going and going and growing also. And all this learning depends on the memory we have. We have to have memory in order to retain whatever we learn. It's a wonderful gift that we have. When we look at our lives, life is gathering nice memories, fond memories, and living this life and cherishing this life. And memory comes from past experiences, and it guides us in our present, and it also guides us in the future sometimes. Problem comes when we start making an inventory of what we think are injustices that have happened to us. We don't let them go. We keep remembering them. We keep a list of all the things and relive them again and again. We feel guilty. We feel remorseful of the past. We feel hurt. We have revenge. And sometimes we are thinking about the past in terms of the past glory. We are wasting the present thinking about the good things we had and no longer have. It could be resources, it could be youth, it could be beauty, it could be capacity. We are feeling sorry for that we don't have anymore. And when we do that, we are wasting the present for that which has been in the past, which no longer is there except in our head. So this is abuse of the gift that we have. It's like when you look at a knife, you can use it to cut the vegetables, cut a fruit. The surgeon uses it for doing surgery to save a patient, but it can also hurt, it can also kill. So how you use it, is important. So for this, Krishna says he's given us the next wonderful gift, that is forgetfulness. When we are traveling, if we have a lot of luggage, it's harder to travel, right? It becomes very cumbersome. We would like to travel as light as we can. And Krishna says this is true of your head also, your body and your head. In the 6th chapter, he gives a lot of instructions about how we should keep our body healthy, how we should eat, how we should rest, how we should sleep, exercise, also take a break from the routine, recreation. He gives all those guidelines. In addition, he says not only you should travel light with your body being healthy, but travel light with your head being light also. So get rid of the emotional baggage that you carry and learn to let go. Okay? There is a story about Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu, when Hiranyaksha was killed by Lord Vishnu, his wife gets very, very upset, Hiranyaksha's wife. So Hiranyakashipu goes and tells his sister-in-law, let go, don't be vengeful. But he forgets to follow that advice himself. And he gets so obsessed about taking revenge on Lord Vishnu, which finally leads to his own demise. So we need to learn to let go. And what does letting go mean? Meaning being childlike. Letting the past go, enjoying the present. When we look at children, they may bicker among themselves, but in no time they make up. They let go. They don't hold on to what has happened. They enjoy, they play together and enjoy again. And Krishna gives that meaning, let go. And sometimes it might be just putting it on the back burner, not being able to, don't have to completely forget about it, but at least temporarily block it. We use this called distraction technique with patients with chronic pain, with stress management. We teach techniques about how to, even though we may not be eliminate the pain and the suffering, we can teach how to manage them. And we do this in day-to-day life, how, like watching a movie, reading a book, or talking to a friend. And the most powerful way to dealing with would be meditation, which helps us to clear our head and helps us to let go of all the baggage, and prayer. And prayer is not for asking more, but to be aware of all the blessings we have in life and be thankful. That's a powerful way of praying. And so we can temporarily suspend putting all this baggage we have in the back burner, or we can let it go, either way. And forgetfulness is what we use when we say time heals. When people are suffering, we say, or something happened and they are grieving, we say time only can heal, because we forget the intensity of that situation. In addition, we can also learn new habits, and with memory replace the old habits, and through forgetfulness, let those go and learn new ones. If we are determined, if we are disciplined, if we practice. A capacity to forget is an important point to learn new knowledge. So it's a habit of remembering what is important and to forget that which is not important, that which is harmful to us, that which is not useful to us, that which is causing us a lot of misery. And that is the way to avoid man-made misery. They say the mind, which is so powerful, it can be our friend or our foe, and we don't need any enemy when we use our mind as our foe, meaning keeping all this baggage that we don't need to carry and thinking about it again and again and harming nobody else but us to begin with, and eventually maybe we can be harming others also. So when we practice, research shows that when we deliberately start changing the way we think and start processing things, the structure in the head changes. So like that's meditation also that does that. So it's the doing changes the structure, and the structure changes the thoughts. So the hardware and software are interdependent when it comes to our brain. The more we think positively, the more the connections happen that help us to be more positive. The more we go the other way, that it goes that way too. So the more we think better, we feel better, and we do better, we enjoy life better. And our structures in the brain change, the hormones change, the enzymes change. So it all depends on how we manage this great organ we have in the head, which carries all this memory and forgetfulness. So we need to live in a cognizant way with the pledge of serenity. God, give me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And here comes the role of the wisdom. So he talked about memory, Krishna, he talked about forgetfulness, and he also says, I'm giving you jnana, wisdom, to know when to remember, to know when to forget, and also to know when to accept things. Accept things, that's the basis of karma yoga, where anything that happens to us, to take it as prasada buddhi. Good things happen, enjoy them. Things which are challenging, accept them and learn from them and become stronger and better. That's how you know how strong you are. And do everything as a worship, as an offering to the Lord. Daiva Arpana Buddhi, that's the very basis of Karma Yoga. Jnana also helps us, wisdom also helps us to realize we are more than our body and mind, which constantly change. If you look at your lives too, like my life, I was a baby once to my parents and grandparents, then a little student in the school, then a young woman, a spouse, a mom, a grandmom. You look at each life, there is a storyline, and each story ends. The curtain falls. There is no exception to the rule. It ends. So Krishna says, be aware of this, how this body and mind are temporary. There's only one thing that is constant, which is your soul. And that is what you need to be aware of, that soul that is constant, that is there all the time. And to help realize this jnana, he directs us to learn about the scriptures. The scriptures, he says, Tasmat Chasram Pramanam Te. In the 16th chapter, he says, learn from the scriptures. Veda. Veda means to know. That is how we would know more. And Gita is nothing but the essence of all the Vedas. And who has given us these Vedas? He says he has given us. He says he's revealed these. You know, these are not written ones. These were revealed to the sages. That's why they're called Shrutis. And so he says, I have given you all the knowledge you need through the Vedas, but you also have it within you. And the Vedas are important to know because that is how we know who we are, and that we are nothing but Aham Brahmasmi. I am from that. And he is everywhere. And that is the very fundamental point that Vedas deal with. So he says, I have given you all the knowledge you need, and I have given you all the ways to know it. And I am the one who knows all this. I am the one who is to be known through the Vedas. I am the author of the Vedas. So I have provided you with everything. I have provided you with every means to live a better life. And that's what he's talking about in this verse. Remember who you are and forget who you are not. And you have the wisdom to differentiate between these two. I would like to close with this saying from Saint Francis of Assisi. He says, the one you are looking for is the one who is doing the looking. Okay? You are looking for yourself. You are looking for yourself, the self which is the seat of all bliss, joy, peace. And Krishna says, if you're cognizant, you know you are provided with all this, and learn how to enjoy it. That's my presentation.